Jovan Deretic, Ancient Serbia. The ancient time, the time of civilizational rise of mankind, hides miraculous secrets which, with new historical, bibliological, and linguistic discoveries, change the course of previous scientific knowledge and point to different and bolder conclusions. Every day, new facts from various scientific fields are discovered which can no longer be understood and interrupt on the basis of old settings and ideas about the ancient age. Bureaucratized quasi-scientists ignore such knowledge. Lulled by stable social positions, they do not want to disturb their dogmatic ideas and do not mind disagreeing with new discoveries, which is all the worse for the facts. On the other hand, history is mostly written by victors and interpreted by stronger, so it must be researched and understood in the light of pronounced political influences. Ancient Serbia decisively emphasizes multidisciplinary scientific knowledge, compares it with the methods of analysis and synthesis, announcing the conclusions that follow logically, no matter how bold and fantastic. Ancient Serbia exposes old notions about ancient times that are not based on scientific facts, but are hypothetically constructed in order to fill logical and temporal gaps, as well as tendacious interpretations in politics of domination. The Balkans, Helm Peninsula, and is a broad scientific field for research into development of the civilizational spheres of all the New World. Vinča, Lepenski Vir, Starčevo, Sirmium, Gamzigrad, and many other archaeological sites can no longer be ignored or interpreted in a minor and incompatible way with scientific knowledge. The Vinčan script and Old Srbica speak louder and clearer about their origin, their people, and their development through time and other people's letters and numbers. New scientific methods and knowledge are increasingly confirming the historical basis of the Old Testament and the Bible, of course, in its theological milieu. Ancient Serbia, in its original approach to matter, is structurally adapted in accordance with biblical understandings and ideas about ancient geography, people, historical figures, events, and currents. Great nations, great geographical areas, and the corresponding epochs are unjustifiably and completely out of historical or logical context in scientific and educational systems. That fact started a project and work, Ancient Serbia, which was realized by the author Jovan E. Deretic and Radojica Swartzan with the desire to turn the avalanche of accumulated truths about their country and their people. Radojica Swartzan. Introduction. In prehistoric times, a large number of people of white race developed in Central Europe with a center in the Nubian region. All previous archaeological research testifies to the continuity of cultural development and spatial expansion of those people. It is the main historical nation of people whose culture has left wide traces in all European and good part of Asian people. We call these people Proto-Serbian because their identity and historical continuity are monitored and proven up to 2000 years before Christ, when they continue in written sources. The findings that follow in further confirm that. Archaeological findings show Serbs as predominantly agricultural people who very quickly conquered the processing and use of metals. There is material evidence that bronze, brass, was used in the Proto-Serbian area of Europe even before 5,000 years before Christ. Serbs reached a high level of cultural development in the 4th millennium before Christ, when they perfected their religious beliefs and literacy. They had the first perfect letter, the alphabet, Bukvica, before all other nations in the world, as evidenced by Vinčan script. Having reached the shores of the southern seas in their expansion, the Serbs are proving to be brave and capable sailors. They did not achieve their new glory without greater efforts in overcoming the sea, which is proved by the name itself that they gave to the sea, which is more, that they gave to that great, restless and deep water, which is related to the nightmare, death, and mortal danger. They named the Mediterranean Sea Pelag after one of the main Serbian tribes. They spread and perfected their literacy on all shores of Pelag, all over Europe, the Middle East, and all the way to India. The people of Middle East and Egypt call Serbs simply sailors or maritime people, but at the same time Sedans, which is the name Serbs in fact. The Pelagian islands became their strongholds, among which Crete played the most important role. In addition to the general popular name, Serbs have numerous tribal and local names, which led to blurring of the base name. Some of them originated from the names of tribal leaders, especially in countries outside their homeland. The more numerous and spatial the people were, the greater the number of these names. The Serbian society was very early organized as class society, in which there were first 3 and later 4 classes. The first 3 classes consisted of the ruling warrior, clerical, educational, and farming class. The ruling ranked class consisted of rulers and warriors, and all executors and officials, all administrative apparatus. Members of this class were called Geti, and with that or a slightly different name they call Serbs in many countries of the world. Serbian Geti are becoming very famous throughout Europe, West Asia, and North Africa. Their class name was very often used as a folk name. In addition to a number of smaller ones, the Serbs undertook 2 major conquests from Danube to Indus. At the same time they marched through Europe all the way to Spain and Britain. In India and Iran they are called Aryans, in Middle East Hittites, and in Western Europe Celts. The Hittites and the Celts are namesakes for Geti. Despite the creation of several states in very remote areas, mixing common life and other nations, Serbs in most cases maintained their linguistic and religious unity until the emergence of Christianity. This linguistic uniqueness was marked first by the name Yazigi and then by the name Slavs, in which that is meaning those who speak the same language. The Christian Church became stronger, dating from the 6th century, creating Christian states and giving them new names to its people, thus separating them from the original Great Serbian tree culturally and linguistically. That is why the name Slavs has lost its background today, its original meaning, and is only used to erase old Serbian name by now. Serbian roots. About 2000 years before Christ, Serbian race is discovered as a major historical factor and as an unstoppable wave covering all countries and peoples from the Nubian to Indus and from the Aral Sea to the Nile. These greatest conquerors in history carried a new military system, new iron weapons and war equipment, developed culture and new understandings of human and international relations, as well as new social order reflected in creation of the First World Empire. This indicates to us that the people in question here must have been very numerous and at high level of cultural and technical development. There had to be a number of preconditions for that. The first is suitable land space as a basis. The people called Aryans could not come out of a forest, come from a mountain, or develop themselves in Himalayas, Siberia, or Scandinavia, because, simply put, it was impossible. That land area was the Nubian region, first in narrower sense as a root area, and then the Danube region in a broader sense as an area of particularly sailing culture. The prehistory of the Nubian region is well researched, and the origin and development of Danubian culture is known. The very beginnings of Danube culture protrude from darkness of time to about 10,000 years before Christ. Their persistence, continuity of development, and abundance of found evidence enable us to follow the Danube. It can be said at any rate over thousands of years. In fact, from the first characteristic tracks all the way to the Great Campanian East. Anyone who wants to learn more about the prehistoric development of the Danubian region can achieve this by studying the extensive work of Gordon Child, Danubian Prehistory, as well as the work Aryans from the same writer. The Danubians should be considered an innate people to that area. In a time period which we marked as era of farming, the first farming appears in the Danubian region, which will, thanks to the favorable natural conditions, make the people of the Danube regions distinct farmers.